as the ropes under his arms lifted him high above his horse. The ropes passed through the hooks in the frame above his head to settle him into the saddle. Although nearly 100 years were to pass before full-plated armour became fashionable, the chainmail hauberk was heavy enough to make mounting a horse impossible without assistance. The steel thigh-length shirt and the hosen held up by leather thongs attached to the belt were efficient protection from weapons that sang in the air, but, once tumbled from his horse, the knight must thereafter do battle on his feet, if he could find his feet. The man who called himself Sir Gilles Lestram smiled secretly. He had set the scene well. A few more such displays up and down the country, and his mission would be well on its way to completion. John of England would be reviled throughout his kingdom, hated even by the very barons now demonstrating loyalty to him like this pathetic, ailing, romantic Ranulph Fitzwilliam. He settled himself into the saddle, gathered the reins, and looked towards the pavilion. The king finished his ale, and flapped a hand at the knot of knights that bound him to his boasting. "Enough!" he cried. "Let us see if either of these noble knights can match the prowess of the King of England." And he waved his hand at the herald, who struggled to control his restless mount near the front of the royal pavilion. The trumpet sounded again, and the contestants edged their horses to the lance racks. Both knights adjusted their gorgets and the flat-topped mail coif that was to receive the helmet, a hideous, featureless affair, with the sight, the narrow slit at eye level, being the only indication that the head it protected resembled that of a man. Both knights took from their squires a long, flat-topped shield and a battle-lance. Now, fully accoutred for combat, they eased their heavy working mounts, similarly hung in protective mail, to either end of the moat fence that bisected the lists. The king looked round at his host. "It seems this morning air likes you not, my lord," he said with open malice. "Will you not join me in this excellent mulled ale?" Ranulph summoned all his strength to still his ague. "I thank your grace, but it likes me as little at this hour." "What an evil thing is age," reflected the king. "It is given to the fortunate few to die in battle." Isabella turned her head away and bit her lip. Ranulph's hand closed on hers, and she felt the spasms that racked the length of her husband's body. The king laughed and raised his hand, and the herald lifted his baton in response. The trumpet sounded a third time to call to all that the joust was about to begin. The royal hand flipped, and the baton plunged. Both lances lowered like majestically falling trees, and the armour-laden mounts were goaded by the driven spurs into laboured action. Ranulph's pain-racked hand tightened on Isabella's, as both horses thudded towards each other in the expectant hush of the onlookers. Isabella closed her eyes. Hugh lifted the point of his lance. He would aim high at the other's helm. It was contrary to all he had been taught, but such a tactic had the advantage of the unexpected, the element of surprise, and was the only chance he had against this experienced Frenchman. As the horses pounded into the diminishing distance between them, Sir Gilles noted the angle of his adversary's lance through narrowed eyes. The young fool was going through too high, shortening the length and reach of his lance. This was going to be simpler than he thought. The young fool would take the full force of the impact on his shield, and the elevation of his lance would unbalance him. Vapour pumped noisily from the horses' nostrils as they strained under the goading spurs. Isabella felt her husband's hand close like a relentless vice on hers, but she was oblivious to the pain, taking it as a signal that the life of her son was about to end. Hugh saw Sir Gilles' lance dip, and something, probably a reflex conditioned in his early instruction, made him lower his lance also. Sir Gilles saw the movement at the last moment before impact and swayed evasively. He took the point of Hugh's lance on his shield, while his own lance arced by the boy harmlessly. The blow unsettled him in the saddle, causing him to continue the run with an ungainly, undignified roll in an effort to recover back.